people don't even know what an MSP is. And we only notice that once we onboard them.
One of the most common things, is that the most common problem you see, is that there's no kind of multi-factor authentication that's being...
And one of the first ones we implement for them is the onboarding and offboarding.
What are the differences in, like, for example, you guys as an MSP, what do you try to do that you see is not being done out there for the benefit of their audience? And this will help people to evaluate, who do I even get, to help me as my managed service provider?
Yeah. So MSP, managed service provider. Yeah. One thing that I learned when I went to an event is that most people don't even know what an MSP is. And we used to refer ourselves and create our advertisements and everything as an MSP. So what we do is we provide bespoke IT support for companies, and we put a layer of cybersecurity on top. So reality is today, if you have IT or you're providing IT, you should provide IT with cybersecurity. It's a marriage. You cannot sell one without the other. And if you're doing that, you're doing wrong. And what we noticed is customers say, oh, I'm happy, I have my IT support, I know the guys, but they're not doing the right things. They're not ticking the right boxes. They're not doing the extra mile for the security for the company. And we only notice that once we onboard them. Because unless you go and you have a look, you can't really see it. And then once you're on board, a new customer, you say, oh, you guys don't have this, don't have that. So we onboard a customer, we do in the first month, we do a review of what they have. And we create a roadmap. So we create a roadmap for the year, and we do proactive work. We don't do reactive. We don't do firefighting. That's our differential. So with that roadmap, we see what's the low-hanging fruit. What can we fix first with low effort? And that sometimes could be basic stuff like, yourself, multi-factor authentication. Everybody should have, and yet a lot of people don't even use. So those are the, sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
Yeah, so I would like to explore that, because I will often, I just think, again, I'm like I don't know if I'm the target audience for this because I'm not the business owner, but I just think about the different apps or other things I use, like my banking app, or there are other apps, like even our CRM for our company that we use. I know it's got a multi-factor authentication option on there, and you can either ignore it, or you can enable. I can remember if I have enabled or ignored it myself even. So are you telling me that someone like me, right, or maybe some other company, if we're not forced to do these things, we don't do them, and it's exposing us? What you're saying, a lot of companies are operating that way?
That's correct. So if you don't have a multi-factor authentication, it's very easy to compromise your account or find those credentials and then gain access. When you have a multi-factor authentication, and multi-factor authentication is a very vague expression because you can have multi-factor authentication with a text message, an email, or an app on your phone. And the best one is the app on the phone, because a text message can be hijacked, and an email, if someone already has access to your email because you don't have the multi-factor authentication, you have access to your code that will be sent to your email. So in simple is, you probably see people seeing, you put the app there and you see the numbers changing, like you have a set of numbers and then there's a little counter and then change and they change. And so that is the best multi-factor authentication you can have and you should have.
Okay, because I know that I'm like on one of my banking apps, because I'm on a few bank accounts, and there's an organization that I'm with where I have to use ANZ, which is not my normal bank I use, right? I use NAB.
Yeah.
But when I do the ANZ, I have to use that little authenticator. I've noticed I have to do it.
Yes.
Whereas with NAB, I think it's an app on my phone, but it doesn't. So yeah, I guess thinking about a business right now, here I'm just an individual speaking about this. So there'd be all these businesses. Now you come in and you see things when you become a provider for the business. So what are the most common thing? Is that the most common problem you see, is that there's no kind of multi-factor authentication that's being forced on the business. Yeah.
That's one of them. That's the most common. What we're seeing as well is that's changing. People are becoming more aware because the government now is sponsoring something called essential aid. So the government want people to have the essential aid applied in their company, and it's in there. It's just like IT and cybersecurity is when we mention those words, you zone out because it's too complex, too complicated. But it's not. So when you break down small and simple things, it's easy to have security. And another thing we see a lot as well is sometimes company have the multi-factor authentication, but they don't do training with the users. So they don't
Okay.
train the employees.
Well, I'm just thinking of different businesses I've been a part of over the years, and I can't think of many IT companies that train me, actually. You're right.
Yeah.
So what kind of training do you like, should an IT, I'm going to use the word IT provider because that's what
Yeah.
I know everyone knows what that means. So the MSP or the IT, I guess IT support provider, what kind of training should they be giving people?
So one of the things we do as well is when we onboard a company, we see what they have as procedures and documentations. And one of the first ones we implement for them is the onboarding and offboarding. What's the onboarding documentation procedure? Is where the user has to know the company policies. But I'm too small, I only have 10 users, don't have policies. Don't worry, we create those policies for you and we put on a place, usually on a SharePoint, where your new employee can see it. And why those policies are important? Because you should know if you can use your email, your work email for personal. You should know what you're allowed to browse on the internet. You should do an internal training what is from usually we do from Microsoft or just companies like known before and other brands like that do a good training for phishing. So you have to understand how to identify a phishing email. And it's not hard. There is tails that you can see when an email is fake or not. If you hover your mouse over a link instead of clicking on the link, you see that if what you're going to is exactly what's saying there. Because I can put a link on an email that says, "I'll go here to Microsoft," but reality goes to Nsoft, the website that looks like Microsoft, but it's not.
Mm.
And that
Yeah,
those are the basic things.
I'm thinking it's interesting you say that, Chris, because I can't remember myself going through training that I can recall anyway over the years. But interestingly, my wife, because I'm probably maybe in your situation, your family's the same, right? My wife always asks me for any kind of computer advice when she's trying to do something. And I've taught her what you just said, which is don't just be clicking on links or like she's a smart woman, but don't be clicking on any text message, even the emails. Where did it come from? So I guess I'm training her, but I mean, I need to get training myself to make sure that I'm not an IT expert.
Yeah, and it's very simple to do, very cost effective. It's not expensive to do training, even to sign up for the big tools as well. It's not expensive. And it's basic things, Jeremy. Identifying the body of the email, where is it coming from? Is that the right person? Because sometimes I could get an email in my mailbox saying mail from Jeremy, but then if you look really, it's not from Jeremy, it's from someone pretending to be Jeremy. And the beauty of this is we do those trainings constant for our customers. And then with the trainings, we get reports. We can see which users click on each links. And then with that, we say, okay, you guys fail. Let's come here and see why you fail. And then we put them on a little training. So they do a refreshing course if they haven't done, or something that's new, a new technique. And then they become more aware because it's awareness is the most important part on anything you do in life. If you're not aware of your actions, you don't know where
Hey,
you're going or what
Chris,
you're doing.
how, I know that you don't, I mean, I know you wouldn't know the full answer to this, but I'm kind of curious. Do you have an estimate of how many small businesses or even bigger ones like are doing that for if they're the IT support, the MSP, are there many people doing that for their customers? Because it sounds a great idea, to see who might be risking the company.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't have the status, but based on my real life experience, it's a very small amount of companies doing that. Very small amount of IT providers doing that for their customers. Because what's happening is they getting a customer, and in order to make money, they don't want to touch the customer. So it's that if breaks, they call us and we go and fix it. That's the mentality behind. So what we do is we go the extra mile. We do the training. We show them why. We present them quarterly reports. Look, we had 100 emails. We had that was phishing emails. We had 10 employees that went there and click on the wrong link, but we managed to block because we have security techniques on the perimeters. So even to block when someone fails, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's alarming that companies are not doing that.
Well, it's probably good that, we're doing things like this right now where people can actually get some education as to what is possible to expect. I guess everybody should be expecting it from their provider, their IT provider, MSP, so that, they can not be exposed to these threats online, which are always increasing. And, the breaches just keep escalating. So
Yes.
very interesting. So I didn't even know IT companies. I know you and I've talked in the past, but I
Yeah.
didn't know that so few did that for their clients.
Very few, because I don't think there's an interest, and for me is about I'm here for the long game. Yeah. It's about providing outstanding service and support, so that gets to a point where people just trust us and just do what we say them to do and recommend us, and that's what start happening. We were getting people, oh, you heard you guys doing that, we heard very well. The customers, like, for us as a business, is amazing when we ask a referral or a Google review or something. Customers write things from the heart, and sometimes you look at that and wow, is that they're talking about us? you know
Wow.
and you don't even notice, because you just have that set of mind where I'm gonna give the best service we can, and that is being paying off like big time. Like we start gathering now customers video testimonials as well, and again we are surprising for what we see our customers talking about us. And I'm not talking, we have small customers and we have very big customers, and they all talk the same. So for us, it doesn't matter if you're a small business or a massive business, we treat you the same. We have a framework, we apply this framework, and that's what you get. And not doing the reactive work, for me, is the most important part. Like I said, we have the roadmap. I think it's pointless I come to you at the end of the year and say, Jeremy, I need $7,000 because I need to upgrade your firewall. And you say, Chris, why you didn't tell me that? I didn't put on my budget. So that's what we do, we help you say, look, this firewall here is going out of support. We should look at, or this year is okay, but for the following year we need to change. So we help them budget. So we try to operate on a mode where we're not an outsourced company. We are their in-house IT, if it makes
Mm.
sense.
Yeah.
Where we
Mhm.
sit with the business and talk to them what they need.
I like it. I think it's great. I hope that everybody sees what we're talking about here, so they can find, if they're not using it currently, reach out to you guys at Empire Technologies, because you're doing great work. And obviously the feedback that I've even heard, I know we've talked about it too, you're getting great feedback. So I'm so glad that we came in contact a while
Yes,
back
me
as
too.
well to help you.